You know, that wasn't an All-Ireland winning performance.
Probably should have won the game based on their second half performance.
Is it a step too far to say it was the performance so far of the World Cup? Maybe not.
OTB AM's performance rankings with Gillette.
I'm scratching my head. That performance was just lacked that intensity.
I'm just going to jiggle open the kimono here and reveal exactly how this whole thing works. I'm not involved in the setting of the Gillette Labs Performance Rankings. So the Arsenal commentator who's already like angrily poised over your keyboard, I agree with you this time. I agree with you. You should be in them. You're not, but you should be. So,
all right.
Where are we starting?
So no. Put them up. Put up the performance rankings there. Then tell me who you're getting rid of for Arsenal. Who you're getting rid of?
Arsenal should be in the green.
Who are you getting rid of?
Arsenal should be in the green.
Come on, who are you getting rid of?
Ireland Rugby.
Oh, Rhys McClenaghan, well done winning that World Championship. Arsenal won a game.
Ireland Rugby.
So well done.
Do you celebrate the delivery of the post? I don't think you do. Yeah. Where it's a home game. We win all our home games. We always do.
All right, we'll get rid of Irish Rugby and put Arsenal in there.
Yeah, okay.
I don't mind. Let's start in the red. Manchester United are in the red. You can't lose to Aston Villa and not be in the red.
This is nonsense. Aston Villa should be in the green. Man United shouldn't even be on the thing. So why would they? What? They're not even relevant anymore.
I was listening to Richie yesterday give the team news on Off the Ball and listening to the Manchester United team going, ooh, really? Cristiano Ronaldo is captain. How is Cristiano Ronaldo back as Manchester United captain within a fortnight of basically refusing to come on the pitch?
It seems strange, doesn't it? The handling of it now, where it was like, oh, he's a genius, he's rope doping everybody into being able to get rid of Ronaldo. Unless this is the end, this is look how bad this is. I have to burn bridges with him because Ronaldo wasn't even the reason they lost, though. Like, it wasn't great, but there's loads of other problems that Man United have at the moment.
Well, the second you hear Donny van de Beek is in the team, you're
what was that about?
A little bit concerned. Like, he hasn't started a game in God knows how long in the Premier League. Particularly when Fred and McTominay were on the bench, and the time Casemiro and Fred played together in the middle of midfield, it seemed to go just fine. It seemed the obvious thing to do would be bring back Fred, put him in alongside Casemiro, play Christian Eriksen as the number 10 with Bruno Fernandes out injured, and keep your shape and your changes to a minimum. But bring in Donny van de Beek, and maybe... I don't know. I think when you're a Manchester United manager, it's very hard to just be trying things out. Like, maybe there's a bit of, as you say, with Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm just going to keep putting them out there, and eventually everyone will realise I'm right and this guy is not. Yeah, I've given you enough chances. I think everybody realised that, like, at the start of the season, and then continuously he has blotted his copybook to the point where you don't need to do it anymore. I thought that point was like long past. I thought, and then you refuse to come on the pitch and you leave the stadium, and actually this is an easy break, and you use him in your Europa League games, and if you force him to sit on the bench, and next time he'll take his 5 minutes at the end. But it doesn't feel as though he's able right now to lead a Manchester United team for 90 minutes, particularly in high intensity games away from home, where a match where Villa are really up for it.
Yeah.
New manager, stadium is hopping. Garnacho's thrown in there on the left hand side. Didn't really look at the level, but he's 18.
Is it fair? Is it fair to put Garnacho in that instance when there's so many doubtful parts to the rest of the team? Like, wouldn't you be better off having the full team, or a settled team, or as experienced team, or as informed team, not Van de Beek and not Ronaldo in the team, when you're trying to see, is this guy any good?
Well, he'd obviously seen something in the Europa League game on Thursday night that he liked, and decided, you know what, I'm going to stick with this group and give them a chance to prove themselves in the Premier League. But like, that has surely got to be it now for Donny van de Beek. How do you go back after that? It seems pretty much every manager since he's come to England doesn't really trust him, gives him an opportunity, and he doesn't grab it. Like, maybe he's just not all that. Maybe he's just not of that standard. He did a good time at an Ajax team that was well suited to his style of football.
Or also that it turns out had loads of world-class players in it. You know, there might be the Phil Babb beside Paul McGrath effect in Donny van de Beek's career, where you look back and you go, oh, they've all gone on to win Champions League.
Turned out playing in midfield alongside Frankie de Jong was quite a straightforward thing.
Yeah, and with like a brilliant centre-back partnership in front of you, and very strong wingers and good strikers, like, it's easy to look good in that. Oh, he never gives the ball away. Well, that's because there's always a free man.
Listen, yeah, let's be honest. The reason Manchester United are in the red is because you wanted to talk Aston Villa.
Well, they're pretty good, aren't they? I mean, they were pretty good. Like,
they got at them early. They got their goals. Luca Dean scores a free kick. Looks like he might want to play football again. Obviously made some changes. You know, McGinn isn't in the team again. Danny Ings is coming off the bench. Ashley Young is coming off the bench. Is that the best 11?
I don't know. Like, Dendoncker has not been in anybody's kind of talk or selection or anything until about 3-4 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden gets in the team and now is playing really well. And Douglas Luiz couldn't get in the team at the start under Steven Gerrard, and then started to score from corners, and they were like, okay, we're going to put you in the team. But I just thought Douglas Luiz was their was their best midfielder, and now those two side by side look relatively, well, Dundalk slightly behind Douglas Luiz. And then Jacob Ramsey, I saw a heat map of his stuff today. It's wider and more forward, and like Ramsey's a dynamic, high intensity, very talented young player who has an eye for goal. Like, if a good manager comes in, suddenly you have like loads of players. Like, they have a really big squad, and if Leon Bailey's going to start scoring goals, then suddenly there's less pressure on everybody else to score goals, and like, I don't know, there's not a bad squad there.
So what are you thinking? 10th?
I mean, I just want to watch them play football at the moment, which is good, which is like a massive change. After the 5th or 6th game under Stevie G, you're like, oh, what's going to happen here?
It's new manager bounce, isn't it?
I really hope Steven Gerrard learns how to get good at being a football manager. And but I don't know, you know, it's exciting, and then he'll start signing good players because he has like good information about one of the best leagues in the world to buy good value, talented footballers from, and it's pretty exciting. Like,
so
you're an adult in charge.
You're expecting 2 or 3 Villarreal players to come in. Will they go and invest again in January?
I think so. Like,
you let Coutinho go?
Well, Coutinho's injured now, at least in 10 weeks, it looks like, 7 to 10 weeks. So you were hoping that maybe Coutinho might play 2 games now and get a loan move to some needy Champions League team who were stupid. But that's unlikely to happen, given the amount of money that they've invested in his wages. But like, look, they're billionaire owners. It's his money, not mine. I don't care.
Fair enough. All right.
Villa pretty good. They even brought Morgan Sanson off. Like, Sanson's is kind of, well, he could be good. We've never seen him play. No manager's ever picked him. Why is no manager picking him? Because he might not be very good. Well, he might be good if a good manager comes in. So, all those. This is the bit where it's like the first flush of a relationship, and you don't even need to eat. You're just feasting on each other's love. That's what it feels like at the moment.
Wow, you're not getting carried away at all.
Oh yeah, come on, let's go. You feel alive. Feel alive on a Monday morning. Why not?
You enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, Ralph Hasenhuttl.
Just 1 second, right? The last time Villa beat Manchester United.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this now because it's been doing the rounds. But it was the famous day where Alan Hansen went on TV and then said, you can't win anything with kids. And that was the team that then went on to win the league for Manchester United that year. But the Man United team that you couldn't win anything with kids had Roy Keane and Peter Schmeichel and Steve Bruce and Brian McClare, and it still had Ryan Giggs to come back into it, still had Eric Cantona to come back into it, still had Andy Cole to come back into it. So Alan Hansen's sitting there going, there's no strength in that, this is ridiculous. I'm like, that's a really strong team. Hansen's punditry, apart from the fact that Beckham, Scholes, the 2 Nevilles and Nicky Butt turned out to be very good Premier League players, was also stupid. It was a stupid bit of punditry in and of itself, irrespective of whether or not those players turned out to be serviceable Premier League players. It's a good clip though, you should watch back.
It is. Maybe Alan Hansen was more controversial, was looking for clicks, even back then.
He's getting them now.
He knew. 25 years
That's
on.
the last time that Aston Villa beat Manchester United at Villa Park. The world is a slightly different place. You should check out the set. It's just like this blue. It's just a kind of like blue background with nothing to it.
Is Lauro in with him?
No, Clive Allen's in with him actually.
Yeah. And things have gone well for Clive Allen since then as well.
Colin Boogs, mate.
Yeah. Let's continue with the red. Ralph Hasenhuttl is still this morning the Southampton manager, but for how much longer? The Athletic was reporting yesterday that Ralph Hasenhuttl is going to be sacked. They just haven't decided whether they'll do it next week or this week. So they may sack him before they play Liverpool at the weekend, or they may just wait till that game is done, give him that match, and then sack him when everybody heads off to the World Cup. But either way, he's going. Fairly, he's had a good run of it. He's been there for 4 years, which in Premier League manager terms at a club like Southampton is a lifetime. Watched the game against Newcastle yesterday. Now, Newcastle were incredibly impressive again, but Southampton have had too many of these sort of performances where it's very flat at home. You could tell the supporters have lost a lot of interest. You look at that Southampton team and it feels like there's a lot of very good young players who in 2 or 3 years might all come to the fore together or might do the Southampton thing and move on to a bigger club. But it's very hard to know what their best 11 is right now. Who's going to score them the goals. Shea Adams doesn't look like a 20-goal-a-season striker right now. And it sort of feels like it's just run out of steam. at this stage. You know, he's had, as I say, 4 years. It's always a tough gig where you got to sell your best players, whether that's, you know, selling Danny Ings to Villa or Højbjerg going off to Spurs, even someone like Matty Targett going to Newcastle. Like, they struggle to keep their best players. In fact, Targett went to Villa as well, didn't he?
He did,
went to Villa between Southampton and Newcastle.
Yeah.
So when you're losing your best players to Villa all the time, Ger, again, it's
not not a good sign. Certainly not that version of Aston Villa.
So yeah, an interesting week for Ralph Hasenhuttl, knowing that. Can you sack him if they go and beat Liverpool next weekend?
No, you got to do it now. The one thing is, they really like him. Like, they've obviously trusted him for a long period of time. Did the club change hands? Is it still the Lever family who own it, who don't really like change?
No, I think there's other investors in there now as well. So look, they're nowhere near where they were for that sort of 3-season spell under Poch, Koeman, even Claude Puel, where they were inside the top 10 in the Premier League. It's been, you know, every season there's sort of been 2 seasons within one where they'll go on this run of 12, 15 games where they'll be very impressive. Like at the start of last season, they started the season really well, and then it's a slow drift as the season goes on, and that sort of continued on into this season. And now when you look at Southampton, you look at the team yesterday, it's not a very recognisable side at all. Aside from James Ward-Prowse still been there in the middle and Shea Adams leading the line. Like Perot's come in, Salas, who's been there for a couple of years, Bella Kotchap, I know they were talking about start season, looked like a real talent, but Graham Souness was hammering them yesterday for the defending into the game. Gavin Bazun's had a tough old time, obviously, conceding a lot of goals.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it you can blame him for. But obviously the 2 Irish guys that we were very excited about coming into the Premier League are both conceding a hell of a lot of goals in Gavin Bazunu and Nathan Collins at the moment. But maybe the managerial change at Wolves and the managerial change at Southampton will change things for them.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Okay, so what would you sack him?
Oh yeah, I think it's done. It feels done. It's felt done for a while.
And who's going to get it?
Stephen Gerrard.
Not a chance.
They generally have a good record of finding decent managers, Southampton.
They do, and I guess that was the German ownership. They were interested in having somebody that they could speak the same language to, literally and metaphorically. So it'd be interesting to see if they go back to the same place again. All right, what's next?
In the amber, Ireland A, the backup stars for Ireland, took a heavy beating against a New Zealand 15 at the RDS on Friday night. A lot of the conversation afterwards is, these guys will have gone down in the way that Andy Farrell looks at them, and obviously haven't done their chances of breaking through to a World Cup squad any good at all. A lot of it was a bit harsh and a bit of an overreaction in ways that, like, this was it feels like the All Blacks are not a team you want to play in an A game. Like, their skill set was so good. Like, they just threw it around. They played with a massive intensity, and Ireland looked like a 15 who had never been on the pitch together before and had never really been on the training pitch together before. They never got to the pitch of the game.
Yeah, the only thing about that is that several of them had been together on the Emerging Ireland tour, and you know, some of them have been around Ireland squads, and you kind of hope that there would have been some roll-on from the Ireland A experience in New Zealand when, you know, first test not so good, second test really good. So,
well, maybe that would have been the case here as well if they had another couple of weeks together ahead of a second test. I just think you look at, like, the example of Jimmy O'Brien, who should have been in that team. But obviously Robbie Henshaw picks up an injury, then O'Brien is promoted to the bench, then 25 minutes into the game he's suddenly on playing against South Africa and he's brilliant, and everyone's saying, well, now he's shown Andy Farrell that he can be part of that World Cup squad, that he can be trusted and relied upon. Yet if he played on Friday night, I don't think Jimmy O'Brien was going to change the result of that game in any significant way. So it's such a different thing coming into an A team where you've got 14 regulars, or coming into a first team. See, they should call it a B team. 14 regulars alongside you, and you're at the intensity of the game straight away because you have to get to it, than what we saw on Friday night. I think as well, we on the outside always look at them in certain ways, and you look at the result and you look at individuals. I'm sure Andy Farrell has a different way of looking at this as to what he wanted from certain players and their ability.
Did you do your job at the breakdown, or was it your fault that actually something specifically happened bad in that area? Did you make all those tackles? Did you fall off any of them? Like the individual second by second breakdown that they have of the players' performance, you would hope will give them some comfort in some individual cases, and then in others it's like, well, okay, you've got to go back and nail down a starting spot in your club team, and then we'll talk to you in a year's time. But
maybe it's not so much about damage being done, it's about actually not forcing Andy Farrell's hand. So if you're Jacob Stockdale and you have this wondrous performance and you continue on your good form from the start of the season, he's going, all right, I got to find a place for this guy in the wing against Australia in a couple of weeks' time. that probably didn't happen for too many of them.
No, but you would hope now that we've beaten South Africa, that these games, the rest of these games don't really matter. Although Australia were sensational. I don't know if you saw any of the Australia-France game. Australia were absolutely sensational. The try is unbelievable. But they were excellent in that first half. And they missed a few kicks, which would have put pressure on France. And then I missed the second half. But France only win it at the very end with another amazing try. So that game should be a much better game when it comes to it. But I guess that's the same point that I was making from Manchester United perspective. Like, when you're sticking the kid in Garnacho against Villa, is that, like, would it be better? Do you now know that he's not up to it because they got beaten 3-1, or do you think actually he's not up to it because he's playing beside Donny van de Beek?
Yeah, and do you try him again alongside Bruno Fernandes?
Yeah.
And, you know, you keep Rashford there, and maybe Martial returns from injury at some stage, and suddenly you've got everybody you want alongside him. I don't think they're going to be writing off Garnacho, and I don't think Andy Farrell will be writing off too many of these guys either.
No. Okay. All right. Colin says there were 4 Irish players playing the day that Aston Villa beat. I've already told you one of them. That Aston Villa beat Manchester United in 1995. Name them.
Paul McGrath. Andy Townsend?
Yeah.
Ray Houghton?
Yeah. No.
No?
No Houghton. So then the other 2. I already told you one.
So 2 on the Manchester United team, Roy Keane.
Yeah.
And Dennis Irwin.
That's it.
I just, the way you said it initially, it sounded like there was 4 Irish
Villa
players on the Villa team.
No, Soton was gone, or wasn't? Was he already gone? 95, 96.
Going back.
We can look it back.
Right. It wasn't that long ago, was it?
Yeah, that's the point. It's 27 years.
Oh, was it 90? I thought it was earlier than that. I thought it was earlier than 95.
No. You'll win. Okay, no, Soton is there still, but not on the team on the day. Oh, he's on the team. So there's 5.
This is a shambolic.
Not on the team.
This is like a
crappy
crappy quiz.
There you go. Right, what's next? Who's in the green?
In the green, the real Irish rugby team, not Ireland, So yeah, beating the world champions. What do you think of that, Razzie Erasmus?
Oh, stick that in your pipe. Have you seen his tweet?
I have seen his tweet, yes.
He's such a baby. Such a big baby. Like, a historically big baby in rugby terms. I can't remember a bigger baby than Razzie Erasmus in rugby terms. And, like, he's obviously a genius. He's obviously an incredible man manager, like, really deeply understands the game, managed to completely unify the rugby culture in South Africa like that, like really quickly. Came in from a position where they were complete shambles, walked in, fixed it, won a World Cup, won a Lions series, but has done it in such a way that everybody thinks he's a big baby.
Maybe there's a Jose Mourinho side of a Razzie Erasmus who can come in, makes an immediate impact, and then actually this nonsense starts to wear thin after a while. That you're in the South African squad going, listen, we got beaten fair and square. It was a cracking game. We threw absolutely everything at it. We probably tried a couple of things out that didn't really work. And listen, the big decisions even themselves out. Like Colby should be sent off. It's clear as day. He should be sent off. We get away with that one. You know, there's the kick through that he's not happy about. There was, questions about a forward pass. They're not happy about the try that was disallowed. All of that sort of stuff. But it evened itself out. You're in the dressing room going, just shut up. We're the world champions. We're the world champions. Why are we bitching and moaning like this? Take your beating. But no, Razzie straight away had to go at Nick Amashukeli, the referee, and his officials. So he's obviously already been serving a ban for the previous video, and it seems he might be in a little bit of trouble again. And we shouldn't be talking about Razzie Erasmus, though. We shouldn't be talking about Razzie Erasmus. We should be talking about Andy Farrell and how good Ireland were. I thought this was great. I saw some of the, I think Neil Francis in particular was hammering the quality of the game. But it just felt like it was incredibly tight, tough, intense. Are you ever going to have a 35-34 sort of game on Saturday night? I didn't think so. And Ireland stood up to them. And when they lost big important players, the guys who came on, whether it's Finlay Bealham, who I know everyone in Connacht has been raving about at the start of the season, came on and really brought that form into the game. When Ty Furlong goes off and stood up in the second half, Jameson Gibson Park, who hasn't been playing any rugby, is able to come on and
transform the fortunes of the team. He was sensational.
Yeah, it'll never happen, but there was a case of watching it going, geez, actually maybe Gibson Park for the second half of every game, and just upping the tempo massively.
I did wonder if that was part of the thinking as well, like putting Murray in at the start, because it looked like Murray had kind of slipped in the pecking order to third. but then they picked Craig Casey as captain, and so they gave him a start to see exactly how that would go on the A team. And then when Gibson Park came on, it was funny because we had talked with Brian O'Driscoll the previous week about the Leinster-Munster game, and he just had been comparing the metres made by the respective scrum halves, and how Leinster had a scrum half who was willing to make a break, and Luke McGrath, and had made like 70 odd metres, but there was nothing coming from Murray. And then Murray's last act, the one in which he gets injured, is actually a break, and you're like, wow, this is great, because all of a sudden it just transforms what South Africa are thinking. They're like, oh, hang on, you will do this to us. And then in the second half, obviously it's completely different, just the speed at which Gibson Park passes the ball, and the like, even the runs that players are making off him. That I was up behind, I don't know the names of the stands in Lansdowne Road, but I was behind the goal.
It's almost as if we should name the stands after some famous historical figures who've contributed an enormous amount to Irish sport.
What, do you know the names of the stands?
The North Stand, the South Stand, the East Stand, the West Stand.
Is that it? Well, what's the big one behind the goal, not the little one?
The big one.
Okay, I was in the big one up high, and it was actually, they were brilliant seats because everything happened in the second half right in front of us. And after an Irish boot kicks the ball through in the we cheated to score the try, which I didn't know until Razzie helpfully pointed out. Thanks, Razzie. Normally people cheat us, so we're very proud of that, you know. Well, what a brilliant try it was, like an amazing piece of skill from Caelan Doris, and then everything that happens the rest of the way through is sensational. But you could actually see from where we were sitting that it's on. Once Gibson Park makes his break, it's such a different, it was kind of slightly lower in the ground when Michael Obafemi scored his goal in the previous game. Who was that against?
Scotland.
No. Just the most recent November.
God, how can I not remember this thing that just happened right there?
You were commentating on it. Anyway, I was fairly similar. You could see if Obafemi just shoots, and then he just does exactly what he's supposed to do and pings it straight in the corner. And you can see if Ireland just pass this ball properly, they've got an overlap and they're going to go in the corner. But it's all kind of happening in slow motion, even though it's happening at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
So they're Armenia.
The Armenia game, sorry. Absolutely brilliant seats and brilliant fan experience as well, I have to say, because the fans have been taking it in the neck about like, oh, you're not paying any attention to what's going on. Fans don't pay attention when the game is shit. I think everybody has to like cotton on to this. When the game is good, when it's the All Blacks or when it's England or when it's nip and tuck against Wales, fans are going to stay in their seat and they're not going to be off going to have a piss or to drink pints. But when Ireland are absolutely killing somebody,
everyone manages it in every other sport?
When Ireland are killing somebody, they're not going to go off and get drinks and have pints and go for pisses. Or when it's a massive game, when it's the All Blacks, when it's England, when it's France, when it's the Springboks, nobody during the game was getting up around us. There was no complaints, apart from maybe the music, which was so weird. But
so explain. I was reading this online. Every time there's a break in play now, they're playing music.
Well,
which I presume again at the Aviva, which is the loudest sound system in the world, overpowers everything.
Well, in fairness to them, they pause and they wait and see if there's going to be a song, and then there's no song, and they play music. And the music was everything from Black Eyed Peas. That's going to be a good night.
Yeah, always a great song in the history of Irish sport.
I'm like, lads, I mean, know a little bit of history here. Just know a little tiny bit of history. Don't play the Black Eyed Peas, right? Maybe play Black Eyed Peas Weekend. I don't know. But they played that, and they played Bruce Springsteen was the first one. I was like, I mean, I know Bruce is very likes Ireland because he makes loads of money here, but is it Irish? Is there something specific?
But why are you playing
this?
music anyway? Like, the break in play is when you sit and you have a chat with the person beside you about the thing that just happened that caused the break in play.
It's rugby. It takes 2 hours now. It was 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Oh, I know it was 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But like,
so I think I actually don't think it's that bad an idea, because there was definitely there was a period where there was a scrum called and there were 2 injuries, and the injuries were just taking absolutely ages, and everybody was starting to have a chat and kind of going, what's happening? How do we get here again? What's the story?
What is the music doing? Is everyone getting on their feet singing Bruce Springsteen going, yes, now I'm invigorated?
Well, there was one that started a bit of karaoke, which I've now forgotten. And the people were starting to sing a little bit to it. So that's what they're trying to do. They want a little bit of karaoke going on.
Like, Ireland are playing South Africa, the world champions, and you want a little bit of karaoke, and you're praising people for sitting and watching the match.
Yeah. Well, I'm not praising people for sitting and watching the match. I'm saying stop giving out about people going for pints when the match is not in the balance. Like, stop having this expectation that people should be like stuck in their seat for 2 hours. Like, that, I thought that it was crazy complaining about that last week, to be honest. So anyway, the match itself, Ireland played really well. South Africa played very well. There were some mistakes. Their out half, not very good at out half, it turns out. And we'll get into this a bit more detail with Quinny. We might try and get some South African reaction on the show tomorrow. That's a good idea that I've just come up with. Yeah, there you go. You can stick that one on the agenda. And
You're getting carried away, Ger.
well, I
Getting carried away. A year away from the World Cup.
I think we shouldn't
Learn
get
your lessons.
shouldn't get carried away. I think that the South African team that we face in a year's time will be different. They'll have a number 10 who kicks their goals at 100% more than likely, as
What
opposed
if they don't?
to. Well, they probably will. They've got 2 other number 10s, and they won't be picking 15 at 10, and they won't be picking an 11 at 15. And so all of a sudden they'll just be a better team. I'm predicting that they'll be a slightly better team. I think we could be a better team too. I don't think we're finished.
That's the one thing of South Africa will be a better team. Like every team is going to have injuries when the World Cup comes around. We don't know what position. We do have a way of looking at going, oh, but if Sexton was injured, well, like other teams will have injuries as well to key players during this.
Yeah, Sexton and Gibson Park might be very, 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 very important to us. Ireland are a completely different team when Sexton plays. So now I would actually stop playing Sexton. I would stop starting.
You would have stopped playing Sexton 3 years ago.
Well, well, you have to now, right? You have to bring him off the bench.
You see, I always think the conversation pre a run of games is, well, we'll play Sexton in the first one, then obviously we'll rest him. And then what'll happen is the week of the Australia game, there'll be no question that Sexton's going to start against Australia.
You would think so. Do you think in the long run that's the right decision?
No, I don't. I think it's a very hard decision to drop him when he's playing as well as he is.
So don't drop him. Put
But
him
also,
on the bench.
do you really learn a lot that is relevant to, like, what does Joey Carberry do against Australia that gets him a start? Like, you're just giving him a start for the sake of giving him a start. He hasn't earned a start. He hasn't done anything near enough to get near pushing Sexton out. So he comes in, does grand against Australia. Are you starting him in the Six Nations?
Yeah.
So you're sort of making him the de facto number 10, even though he's not going to be that at the World Cup, just so he's got enough game time under his belt.
So with that, if he does become the number 10, which historically has happened, we've seen injuries to Sexton over, like, specifically a 4 or 5 game period. Sexton gets injured and misses a game or two. And so if those game or two happen to be a quarter final, then you've got nobody who has any experience.
But he doesn't. Like Sexton, now, every hit he takes feels like it's twice the ferocity of anybody else taking it. And you look at him and go, he's definitely coming off now. And then 2 minutes later, he's running the show once again. But for Carberry, as much as it's... Like, Joey Carberry's vastly experienced. It's, 6 years since Chicago at this stage? So, he has all the experience he needs in some ways. Is it not a mentality thing? And you can't change that because no matter what happens, you're the backup, Joey. So you can't give him the jersey against Australia, go, show me that we should replace Johnny Sexton with you, because no matter what he does, he's not getting that jersey off Johnny Sexton between now and the World Cup. So he needs to have a mindset actually of, I need to be able to come in at short notice and I need to be able to finish off games if Sexton goes off injured.
Yeah, that's certainly one thing. But what if Sexton gets injured? And then he does have to start those games. So
absolutely, but I don't know if there's anything that happens over the next year that changes his performance in a year's time if that happens.
I think that playing 5 or 6 big games and starting 5 or 6 big games would be hugely important.
Possibly, but
is it? I'm looking at footage from the 2021 Guinness Six Nations. It says it's in an empty stadium, empty Aviva in 2021. Is that correct?
Yeah, that'd be right. Yeah, this year's Six Nations, the crowds were back.
Ireland played France that day, right? Who started at number 10?
Ross Byrne?
Billy Burns.
Billy Burns!
This can't be 2021, is it?
Billy Burns, good man, Billy.
Yeah. That seems like 2020. But anyway.
So 2020, you might remember, didn't happen.
At all. Okay.
Well, remember the Italy game was the first sign that, that seems a bit weird. Why would you call off that?
Anyway, look, my point is, give somebody game time. If it's not him, give Frawley 3 games to start with Sexton on the bench. And I don't just mean Italy, and I don't just mean Scotland.
You starting Carberry this weekend?
I guess so, yeah. Or maybe you start Frawley this weekend, and Carberry's on the bench for that. And then the last one you start Carberry and Sexton's on the bench.
Crowley?
I don't think so at this stage. I think he's got to displace Carberry in Munster.
I feel like we're still going to be having this exact conversation.
We are.
Nations.
One last thing. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been making the point that if you watch NFL, you've seen Aaron Rodgers fall off a cliff, and you've seen Tom Brady fall off a cliff. And yesterday, Aaron Rodgers, in the first half alone, threw 3 interceptions, which is like the first time in his career that he's thrown 2 red zone interceptions in the same game. and it was against the worst ranked defence in the entire NFL, and they lost the 4th game in a row, and I think it's the first 4-game losing streak where he's been fit and starting all his games, and it's like, his career's gone down in flames. And then it was Tom Brady's turn late in the evening, and what happened in the last 44 seconds with no timeouts? Tom Brady beat the defending Super Bowl champions with an absolutely sensational return to form, and you're like, come on, Tom Brady, maybe Johnny Sexton can take us to the World Cup. It's going to be amazing.
That would be almost more of a concern, or as much of a concern, that when Ireland get together next August and they start those warm-up games, that suddenly you're like, wait a second, this Johnny Sexton, who hasn't played for 4 months and has taken the summer off, is now struggling to get back to where we saw him last year, and that cliff edge has come, and by then it's definitely too late to do anything, because you still have to play him. He's fit, so you have to play him, even if he's not playing well. But that's not happening.
Jack Cosgrove says OTB to apologise over the alleged kick clash at the Aviva. I mean,
what was it like there?
I mean, well, I know the team on this side is Ireland because it's got all the Ireland players in it. Another team on that side, well, they've got even Etzebeth, and he's like the giganticest human being you've ever seen, except for his second row partner, who's slightly bigger. Was it Lou Dieger is bigger? But they were big men. Could we not just play in white? We used to have a cool white jersey. It was great.
There's no such thing as a cool white jersey.
There is. The Kildare jersey, the Real Madrid jersey, and the Ireland away jersey. Cool white jerseys.
No, I'm not sure. Now, the kick clash, watching it on TV, I thought it was difficult at times. Again, you know what's happening because one team attacks this way and the other team attacks this way. So it's not quite like soccer where they're totally mixed up the whole time. But it was still way too close. When the ball was over on the far side of the pitch, you're looking, is that...
Yeah, who's leaping there? Is that one of... Is that... Yeah. Like when Josh van der Fleer try went down. By the way, Josh van der Fleer's handling in that moment of like, okay, I know exactly where my feet are. I know where they'll try that. Yeah, got it down as the rest of the whole maul. It was amazing defence from South Africa. In the stadium, screens are very small in the stadium. Like if you're the
level of moaning out of people who go to rugby matches is getting to insufferable.
And you're watching the big
giant
screen,
screens aren't big enough for you now.
They really aren't.
Oh, and you had to get off your seat for your pint.
No, you didn't. I mean,
did you get pints delivered to your seat?
You don't get pints delivered to your seat. No, you just bring a hip flask. It's fairly obvious. There's an obvious solution to all of these problems.
Wow.
Dave Cos says the overhyping of the Irish team will be terrible.
Security.
Is it? Look, are you?
In a way, I think we've gone reverse now, where every conversation, think of the last year, they've won at Twickenham, they've won down in New Zealand, they've just beaten the world champions. It'd be acceptable to lose the run of yourself here and say Ireland are the best team in the world right now.
France are the best team in the world.
But they have to go beat France.
Yeah.
They have to go beat France.
Robert Campbell says Leeds United jersey, best white jersey in Christendom.
See, I don't mind a home jersey that is white, but any Ireland away jersey, whether it's rugby or football, that is white, I'm not getting on board with.
Why?
Just think they don't like the look of them.
In Italia 90?
It's fine.
That's great.
But I think both those the green jerseys.
Is this your anti-English stuff coming in? Is this like a slight green tinge? Is that what's happening here?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. No, you love England. Darrow O'Toole says Carty is the next best out half. Carty is the next best out half after Sexton in Ireland, says Darrow O'Toole. He might be, but he's not getting in. So he hasn't got a sniff. Carby's more injury prone than Sexton, says Mr. Quinnis. The logic to play him over Sexton doesn't add up, in fairness. He would definitely need a run of games where he doesn't get injured. Chris Cal says, morning lads, watching the Villa yesterday, weird. What a good manager can do with good players. Mark Dunning says, not enough green to go around this weekend, but Aidan O'Brien's performance at the Breeders' Cup deserves to be in the green. I hope the Jets are in the green, Ger. NFL great this year, says Shifty Lad. Yeah, they beat the Bills last night with a comeback performance where it looked like they were going to get torn apart in the first half, and then were excellent afterwards. And then we've got questions for Alan Quinlan coming in. We'll get to those in a moment. Who is that? Oh, one more green.
One more green, yes. Rhys McClenaghan, we got to mention. World champion. Ireland's first ever world champion in gymnastics, won over the weekend in Liverpool, has had a very difficult couple of years, was hugely frustrated with his performance at the Olympics where he made one big mistake and that cost him a chance of a medal. You know, he went to Tokyo with a real expectation of medaling and it didn't happen for him. He didn't take the gold at the Commonwealth Games, at the European Championships, and so he went into the World Championships as always with some expectation, but I think probably with a lot of nerves as well, because he hadn't been able to deliver on the big occasions recently, but he delivered big time over the weekend and got the World Championship. I don't know if you saw his interview after. It was very, very emotional. You could tell what it meant to him. Still just 23 as well, Rhys McClenaghan. So well done, Rhys.
Yeah, there's I hope this is like the bang of Porrick Harrington, where it's like you're always not quite sure if he's going to make it to the level you think he's really going to be able to make it, and then there's just this mad explosion of like, no, I made it, I can do it now.
Yeah, and the fact that the Olympics are so close together, we're now just 18 months away from Paris. It's going to come around very, very quickly. So the buzz off this and the momentum that he has should carry him through.
All right. If you want to get in touch with us this morning, 0879 180 180 is the WhatsApp number. That's this week's edition of the Gillette Labs Performance Rankings.
OTB AM's Performance Rankings with Gillette.